Oh, I didn't know I was recording. Okay. I don't really like doing YouTubes like this. The only place that I really have to post it is on Facebook, and I'm not really that crazy about Facebook. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to get my story out. You know, not for revenge or anything. It's because I want to get out of this country. The only way that I could get out of this country would be with money. And I would never want to return here again. I would like to live probably in Australia or New Zealand. I need an attorney in order to represent me in this case, and it's been impossible to try to find anyone. And I basically, I've faced an injustice that very few people have faced. I got involved with a man when I was living on Maui back in 1982. I mean, this guy harassed me for about 6 months. I used to see his father and his brothers and their girlfriends, and I never wanted anything to do with him. Okay, I didn't like him, and I was in love with somebody else that was much younger than me. You know, I was 30 and the guy was 20. I was extremely beautiful when I was 30, and I was able to get somebody that much younger than me because I only looked like I was like 18. You know, I was extremely beautiful in my time. I'm 64 years old now. And basically, he started dating a 16-year-old girl, which I later found out was 15, and it kind of broke my heart, and he wasn't interested in me. And I was kind of on in years, you know, even though in a lot of relationships, age doesn't matter. It appeared that it mattered to him. So on the rebound, I started seeing this guy, Champ, and I put the other guy aside, and I was involved with him for a period of a little over 3 months, but I never was involved with his family. I used to see them, and, you know, this Tracy person that was with Choo Choo, I used to run when I saw her. She's kind of annoying me right now. And I used to think that there was something wrong with her. I used to look at her with this guy, Choo Choo, and I used to go, Beauty and the Beast, you know, what is wrong with this girl? And I don't know what I was doing with this guy, and you know, he wasn't really good looking or anything, and people were like, what are you doing with him? You know, I was 3 years older than him, so what? You know, big deal. You know, and I became pregnant, and I had a beautiful home. You know, I was living in a house, and I lost that place. Well, they wanted me to leave because he was coming over, and I shouldn't have left. I didn't have to, but I did. And prior to that, you know, I had a beautiful job. I lived with Lahaina Christian Fellowship in a beautiful house and everything. And while I was in the relationship with him, I was looking for a place, and I met this horrible woman up a street alleyway. You know, I went there looking for a room, and I wouldn't take it. And she was just awful. She was like, let me see, I was 30 at the time, or 31. So she's like 9 years. So she must have been 22. And I don't know, she was dating this married guy, and fucking some guy that was married that was Filipino. And when I left, you know, he made a pass at me. He told me what a terrible person she was, and I thought that was awful. Well, I didn't know he was married at the time. And, you know, that he spoke so poorly of her and that he made a pass at me. It's a good thing I didn't know he was married. But anyway, I told him I had a boyfriend. I walked away. Well, anyway, she coveted him in his heart. So when I left him, I went back to... I decided to go back to New Jersey. I didn't want to be with him anymore. You know, I gave him my car, and I took a plane back to New Jersey, and I came back to my parents' house, you know, in Hazlitt. And my daughter was born in the Freehold Hospital in New Jersey. And I went back there, and when she was 10 weeks old, not to see him. I wanted to go back to Maui, not to be around his family, because I don't know them, and I'm from New Jersey, and I'm culturally different than them, and I think they're dreadful, awful people. And while I was there, I wouldn't leave my child with them, and I wouldn't have anything. He wanted to take her, and I said, no, you're not going to take her. You know, I wouldn't let him take her to be with that woman. She'd probably kill the baby, you know. So he came out, he wanted to be with me, and I was grieving over my brother's death, so I told him, know, and I just got an apartment, and, I wasn't ready to move in with him. And I just got back. I was there like 2 nights. I'm not Donna. I'm not dying, to have somebody in my bed and everything. We spent the night together with our clothes on. She slept in the middle, and that was it. The next day, he had to go. These things take time. Where I come from, I'm not like her. She goes into a bar, she meets somebody, the first day she meets them, she fucks them. That's what she does. I'm different. It took me 6 months before I would even let him near me. And basically, because I knew him and I ran into him, after I had seen that other guy that I was interested in with that 16-year-old girl, I was in a vulnerable state. So, that's how that happened. And, so the next thing I know, I guess he went back there. She tracked him down to his house. He went to his mother's house. She brings all kinds of whiskey over there, and she brings him out to her place. And, his mother's house was a nightmare. It was a condemned building, on the beach. He needed a place to sleep. He was a bum. He wasn't working and everything. Why should I have to take him in, And, when I was getting assistance at the time because he was too much of a bum to support her, what, I'm going to support him on welfare? A 10-week-old baby? Forget that. That's not who I am, And she deliberately gets pregnant. So, he comes out and he goes, she's pregnant, That was the end of it. I didn't bother them. I stayed out in the Peely Sands. I was far away and everything. I'd go to town once or twice a month. I'd be in town and everything. I mostly stayed out there with the beaches. I had friends in the apartment where I lived, another woman that had a child the same age as my daughter. And I used to see her every day, and Sally and Pearl. And every time I would go to town, if I'd be walking down the street, she worked in this dress shop, she'd come at me. And then she'd tell people that, I did something. I moved my kid in a stroller, but she'd always leave that part out. She'd never tell anybody that I was wheeling my kid in a stroller and that she was trying to jump me. So anyway, after about a year, she was just so annoying and everything. He kept coming out to the house and everything. He wanted to get rid of her after the kid was born. The kid was like 2.5 pounds and everything. She was all on drugs. The kid almost died. She was in an incubabe. He wanted to be with me, and I didn't really want to be with him because, but I did because she was such a bitch and because I could, because I could, to show her that she was full of shit, he would just jump at any chance to be with me again. He was madly in love with me. I was gorgeous, even though I was 9 years older than her. She was a goddamn dog. She had big, huge, oh, God, her calves, her thighs were horrible. Big fat ass, and she was flat-chested. I was all well-proportioned. I'm Italian. I have a beautiful body. I was perfect. And, whatever. But anyway, to get to the point, she tortured me for like 30 years. Okay, on March 19th, 2013, after he died on February 16th, which is very strange because this is all very weird times. This is when Pope Benedict resigned. And on March 19, 2013, it was when the Pope was officially inaugurated, this Jesuit Pope. On March 19, 2013, 5 people broke into my house, okay? 3 social workers and 2 police officers, video cameraing it on their cell phones, busted my door with a piece of paper, and kidnapped my daughter. The social worker, Holly Boyson, was video cameraing this on her cell phone and laughing her ass off like she's video cameraing a break-in at my house at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when my daughter's taking a nap and I'm on the internet watching TV like it's some sort of evidence. This wacko. And my daughter was charged with being an incapacitated person and became a ward of the state, that she was stupid, ugly, and retarded, and that I called her this. Even if I did, which I never did, I've always treated her like gold. This is something that Donna has always done. And I understand that Donna was talking to this woman over the phone. A few days prior to that, my daughter went to the doctor and was talking about becoming a mother. She wanted to become a mother, and since she didn't have a partner, she was going to do home insemination. And the nurse made a phone call and called the social worker, and she got arrested. Okay? This is illegal. Okay? Without due process? The Octomom has 14 kids. You know, that way. I mean, they have sperm banks all over the country. And this is all an ooh and an ah and an everything that I was going to do this or do that, what I was going to do it. Marion is the one that signed herself up for the bank. Okay. My daughter has been asking me to do these YouTubes because she wants to sue, but she doesn't want to speak about it because she's actually going to be the one that is going to be suing all these people and putting these people in prison. So it's best that she doesn't say anything, you know, for this lawsuit. I mean, I just had to block this Tracy Bennett on the Facebook that's with this scumbag father. He was such an awful man that was Marion's father. Son of a bitch, never paid a dime child support. Never. Okay, I left in 1985 when I became pregnant with my son. Okay, I had my son in 1986. Okay, never paid a dime child support the 2 years that I was there. But yet he wanted to sleep with me. Okay, and still be with this creepy woman and her horrid daughter. And I prayed that when she was 2.5 pounds that she would live. She grew up to be a horrible girl. And I asked God to forgive me for asking for her life, that I should have been more careful what I prayed for. That if he wants to take her, that I no longer hold him to that prayer. If he doesn't believe that she should be on this earth, tormenting me and my daughter. I mean, she's married with children and everything, and she's always taking pictures and sending them in our emails and putting them all over Facebook, you know, how happy she is and her family and everything, and how my daughter doesn't have children and didn't find a spouse and all this stuff and everything, and that we're jealous. The vicious, vindictive bitch. We don't say anything to her, you know, and everything. She's a rotten half-sister or step-sister or whatever she is. Because I don't even know if that's his kid. I mean, at one time, she said it wasn't his kid. And that it was some guy Richards. And there's absolutely no reflection of his face in Tiara. Okay? I mean, you could see him reflected in Marion, just like you could see Timothy reflecting in my son. And we went to meet a half-brother of Wade's when he was 12. The kid was 13. And as soon as the kid came out and I saw him and looked into his eyes and saw his face, I knew he was Timothy's son and that he was Wade's brother. I mean, the reflection was there. There's no reflection whatsoever in Tiara Niesman. And this crazy Tracy Bennett, oh, she's horrible, awful woman. And she's all buddy-buddy with Donna that I'm jealous. Jealous of what? Jealous of the devil? Of somebody that sold their soul? Because I know she made an agreement with the devil to keep him and to have this baby and everything, you know, to break us up and everything. And she only asked for 30 years. Well, her time was up. She was so stupid. She could have got 300. She never read a book. But anyway, but that's beside the point. What they did to my daughter, these Luciferians, and I fucking hate them. And they come in the name of Adult Protective Service. Okay, so how are they protecting my daughter? I mean, a DA draws this up with, he's Holly Boyson's attorney. His name is Kevin Gillen. And a judge by the name of Mary Jane Nisley signs the order. And they come to the house and they take this person without due process and my daughter and charge her with being an incapacitated person. And then they take her to a secret location. I mean, when your loved ones are taken to prison, you usually know where they are. Even when they're taken to foster homes, they're told where they're going. Usually, the parents know what foster home they're in, or who they're with, or if CPS puts them up for adoption. Sometimes they tell them that too. But I don't know where she is, and she's in some protective custody. And I'm not allowed to call her. She's not allowed to call me. And I don't know where she is for 3 weeks. They just come into my house and take the person that I love the most, and slam the door, and that's it. And there's no hearing. And then I say, I want an attorney, and they say, you don't get an attorney for this. And then 2 days later, on March 21st, the judge signs my daughter over to this social worker, Holly Boyson, and she becomes her personal guardian and conservative and becomes the representative payee of her Social Security check, her death benefit from her father. And it goes to Holly Boyson in a paper check, and it's extorted out of our bank account. Holly Boyson then owns all her property, the home that is in her name, and everything that she owns, and becomes her doctor, including the rights to make end-of-life decisions. So if she feels her unworthy of life, she could kill her too. So, as her guardian, she's given the right to end her life. A person that isn't even sick. And this is senior and long-term care. And I looked it up. They're not even allowed to touch you unless you're 60. And she's 29 years old. This is all done without due process. This is the Illuminati. Okay? Okay? They're all in cahoots together. Billings, Montana is a population of 109,000 people. Okay? This little charade of maybe 200 people in the government there with Adult Protective Service. They go running around looking for people like me. Somebody's 62 years old. I own my house. It's paid for. Okay? I have enough money coming in, over $2,000 a month. We have life insurance, insurance policies, cars paid for. I've got, TVs, everything. They want it all. So who is Mary Jane Knisley? She's a judge? This is fraud. Okay? And Kevin Gillen? Okay, we went to some vocational rehab. My daughter was going to go to cosmetology school, and she also wanted to get her driver's license. She goes to see this Laurel Wentfield, and this Anna Gibbs is making phone calls with this Holly Boyson and this Lori Peterson Yadamoto. And they're setting us up. So we think that we're going, because when you go to college and you go to school, isn't it normal you take a test, to see your IQ? I mean, don't you have to do an exam to go to a school to get in? That's what I always thought. And, so they wanted my son to go to get these evaluations, and it comes back that we're all unemployable, and that my daughter needs a job coach, that she can't go to school, she can't have a driver's license, and she needs guardianship. She's 29 years old. And when I moved to Montana, we joined the YMCA. This came from the YMCA. This is what started this whole thing. And the Billings Clinic. We'll get into that. Okay, we went to the YMCA, and it was kind of expensive, so they says, we'll give you a grant. We'll make it cheaper. It was like $25 a month for the three of us. So we filled out these papers, and we all put in that we got Social Security. And somebody from the YMCA called Holly Boyson to tell her that we were getting 3 Social Security checks. She comes knocking on my door with a big, large purse. She sat it on her lap. Looked like there was a gun in it. With a bunch of people, and you got to let them in, otherwise they're going to call the police. And I should have let her call the police, and I should have got a restraining order. But she came with a smile on her face, and I thought she was okay. And that's what they do. They all have smiles on their face. They're so nice, and they're such do-gooders and all this bullshit. And she says, the first thing, she says, I never heard of somebody getting 3 checks before. I never even seen this woman before. How does she know we were getting 3 checks? And then she says, do you have guardianship? Does she call the YMCA to find out who's getting Social Security? And she says, do you have a living will? And who are you you going to will your children to if something happens to you? She's standing in the door. She wasn't even there 3 minutes. Who am I going to will my children to? Do I have guardianship? I mean, this was within 3 minutes of her first appearance. So she came there for guardianship and for my money. And basically, who called from the YMCA? And it's all written up that they're being severely abused and neglected at the YMCA. Well, I just drove them there and brought them back. How are they being severely abused and neglected? My daughter took a weight loss program there. She did spin classes, used the pool, the hot tub, Zumba, where she had a terrible accident, which we should be suing them. She dislocated her knee. And when we went to the Billings clinic, when we saw that doctor, he's not going to testify or say anything. Her knee's all deteriorating. And she needs to get an attorney to sue them for that. So what did they do? They reported her? For what? And my son? So that Holly could have guardianship? They're getting calls from the YMCA on how much money we make? And Holly wants that money for herself? Who is Holly? And she's got an attorney that works for the government? And a DA and has a judge named Mary Jane Nisley, and they drew her up papers to get this money, and they're going to charge you with becoming an incapacitated person? And she's going to become, somebody was just opening the door, the person's guardian? And she went to my house. So anyway, I'm looking at the paper, and there's an Erica C's on it that's going to do an incapacity report. Don't you have to have that before? Even if you do have an incapacity report or you do have a disability, do you get arrested for that? I mean, do you become a ward of the state for the rest of your life? And basically what the charge was the nurse called because she went there for a signature on a piece of paper. You know, like it was illegal. And about a year before that, she went to the infertility clinic and saw a Dr. Montville. And he refused to do it. He wanted a second opinion. We went to see this Diana Cava. And she's a bitch from hell. We went to see her for about an hour. I did most of the talking. I went out to the bathroom for about 3 minutes. I said, talk to Marion by yourself. I didn't even come out of the door. I was there for like 2 minutes, and she said, that she was done. And I read a report. I guess she called Holly. And she's real buddy with her. And I understand this Diana Cava goes running around the nursery and has kids taken out of the nursery. Who is Diana Cava? She's a clinical social worker? She gets people arrested? You're going to have to go. I'm in the middle of a video. She gets people arrested for artificial insemination or in vitro? If it was against the law, how come Montville's not in jail? And Montville has a clinic up there with the Billings Clinic. He's open from 9 to 5 from Monday through Friday and sees patients for this. And he told me that the Octomom's doctor lost his license. The guy should have been given a medal. She's got 14 kids, and they're living happily ever after. And you're going to call Adult Protective Service and report my daughter? And she's arrested on March 19, 2013 for an undesirable for breeding? And for agentics? They wanted to sterilize her? Because it's sexual abuse if she has a baby? I think that the sexual abuse is wanting to stick a knife in somebody's belly and cut them up. And then Mary Jane Nisley, this little bitch that they brought around, and that's what she is, nothing but a fucking bitch. Her name is Julia Howard. She looks like Cher's daughter. She's a dreadful, awful-looking thing. I'm 64 years old. I'm sorry that I don't look like a 20-year-old girl and that you may not think that I'm the most beautiful person on earth. But for 64 years old, trust me, when I was 20, I was better looking than my mother. And everybody said it. And my mother was gorgeous. But anyway, she signed a piece of paper that she was going to do a report. And I've seen her report. And she said that my daughter should do the duration of her life and should be under guardianship for the next 65 years, including the rights to make an end-of-life decision because her mother was sexually abusing her. What, a girl whose virtue? That it was so well preserved? Who was going to do home insemination because she didn't want to lay with a man? You can do that yourself. It's a tiny, tiny little syringe that you put the sperm in and you squirt it in when you're ovulating. And, but Holly wrote that I gave her 3 injections. I never knew you could inject a baby with a needle. And the clinical psychologist, Brenda Rauch, says that we were performing in vitro and dropping eggs down in the house and fertilizing them. And then Dr. Boots wrote up when I went there for a job that I was delusional. Why? Because I said it was okay for her, I supported her in doing this. I didn't even know that it was up to me to make a decision. And they said that they took her out of my care. She's 29 years old. We just lived together. Why? Is it illegal in Montana, according to Holly, if you live with your parents? I mean, people live with their parents. And, not to mention the Rita Finch case. Some guy mismanaged his money, and the bank reported him. He thought he won the lottery, and they wanted the tax money. So he paid the tax money, and then he found out he didn't win the lottery. So Dr. Boots, she made him go see Dr. Boots, which he didn't have to go see, and he was accused of having dementia. And then Rita Finch, his daughter, had to move in with him. And I wonder if Rita Finch was getting the Social Security checks or if Holly was, if she became their legal guardian. And I wonder if Rita Finch was later accused of abusing her parents. And I wonder who got the house and all the properties and everything. Who is Holly? Well, anyway, to end the story with Mary J. Knisley, I substituted the bitch out. This is a judge? This judge belongs in prison. She's nothing but a cold-blooded killer, a kidnapper, committing fraud, and she's whacked out of her mind. Anybody that would sign a paper, a DA, and then I had the burden, I had to go out and get a lawyer in order to free my daughter. Oh, they gave my daughter a lawyer, and he was nuts too, because he acted like this whole thing was legal. Okay, in order to get guardianship, I'll tell you what's legal. You must petition the court. They have 20 days, and they must give you a hearing. It must be an open hearing. They can't handle it in secret court like CPS. Okay? The person must have an attorney. Okay? And the person must consent to it, even if they have an incapacity report. And if the person is disabled, then the judge has to take that person in chambers with the person's attorney, without the DA, without the other person, and ask that person if it's okay. That's how they do it in other states. Okay? They can't just sign a piece of paper of 16 pages of criminal felony defamation. Criminal defamation, that's what it was. It was all perjury. Okay? Written by a lunatic who thinks that she could do anything that she wants. Okay? Who thinks that she could tell my daughter whether or not she could have children. Who the fuck is Holly to say my daughter can't take care of a baby? Who the hell is Holly to say that I can't see my daughter? They set me up. I didn't see my daughter for the first 6 weeks. Okay? I found out where she was through a phone call. She kept telling me Phyllis. And I found it on the internet. Phyllis's adult foster home. Some horrible place out in Laurel where some parasite runs a house where she gets $2,500 a month to have my daughter there in bed bugs, where my daughter at 5.5 months lost 27 pounds. She's a horrible, rotten woman. She's got another 9 or 10-year-old girl now that she stole from somebody that she adopted. They pay her $750 a month to be that woman's mother. Okay? She's adopted. She doesn't even have a husband. And she's got some 16-year-old girl there. She must be 18 now. Her name was Rose. that was getting SSI that she had there. And Holly was like, oh, Rose has a disability. I want to be her guardian. I'm going to be her guardian when she turns 18. This girl's never going to be able to have a job, never going to be able to go to school. They're going to put her in a workshop for 25 cents an hour. Well, that workshop up there, that so-called day program, they don't make minimum wage. Those kids are paid 25 cents an hour. But anyway, I want to get out of America. I'm so sick and done with this country. I want to get so far away from Donna Cunningham and all these fucks out in Maui. I never want my daughter to end up with those people or those people to come after her. I want to go to court. I want to put all these people in prison. I want to sue the Billings Clinic for $250 million. I want to sue St. Vincent's for $250 million. Okay. I want to sue Knisley and Gillen and the Adult Protective Service for $250 million. And we're going to get the YMCA and the police department for $250 million. I want to sue them all. $1 billion. Anybody interested? And then I want to go to New Zealand or Australia, and I never want to look back on this fucking country. Okay? An incapacitated person. She's not incapacitated. For the duration of her life under guardianship of Holly Boyson, a slave, making her mop people's floors and taking out the garbage at Phyllis Russell's house. And some crazy wacko doctor, his name was Dr. Schulke, wrote a note. There wasn't even a court order. It was writing to the judge. Ingrid Gustafson was the one that finally threw this case out. She wouldn't even give a hearing. She closed it in secret court because she knew how screwed up it was. They wanted to do a witch trial. Oh, Knisley would have done the witch trial because she's a witch. She wanted them to all come and, I guess they were going to sing guardianship for the duration of her life. The poor incapacitated person. Let's lock her up and kill her mother right in front of her so we could get Social Security checks so Holly Boyson could go out and buy a new car. Okay, I think my neighbors are going to hear me, so I'm sorry. And anyway, and the Niesmans, oh God, who would want to be a Niesman when you have a name like Rollerson? And that's who I am. My name is Jennifer Rollerson. My daughter's name is Marion Rollerson. My son's name is Wade Rollerson. And it's our name. We don't want to change it. We don't want a Hollywood name. We're proud of being Americans. And I am so proud to be called Rollerson. My father, Alfred Rollerson, better known as Raleigh, the Bruce Lee of guns, the greatest sharpshooter in the world, who won a gold medal in 1975. First place sharpshooters with pistols, Fort Dix, New Jersey. And my father stood against the whole nation in Texas. And he was fourth in the nation. He took the state. We'll talk more about that later. He was a great man. And I am so proud to be a Rollerson. Thank you.